as the press. It's okay. This means you get a script. Yeah. So you and I can both suffer from this. Maybe next time we fix a problem, we just say $5 million. The marshal's like,
I'm going to call our study session. We're going to call roll. Summer, if you'll call roll of all commissioners.
Commissioner Blevins?
Here.
Commissioner Norwood?
Here.
Commissioner Siragusa? Here. Commissioner Roberts? Here. Commissioner Stallings?
Here.
Commissioner Orr?
Here.
And Mayor Mason.
Here. Item number 2, at the Commissioner's request, discuss any item of concern on the regular session or agenda tonight.
We've got two ordinances regarding rezoning. One is redefining the town square district to exclude dispensaries. What is the other one about specifically?
The other one is about having groweries only be able to be located in industrial areas.
Okay.
And they're two separate ordinances. Carol can talk about them. Alex will be here. He can talk about them. Generally, that's what they are, but I don't know if that's specific enough to answer your question.
No, that's really fine.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions or comments on any of the agenda items? It's going to be a quick meeting, I think. Or we're going to give Jason a lot of time since we took it from him. So that being said, we'll move on to item number 3.1. And if you'll give us, Jason, an update where I cut you off from last week or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, as y'all remember, I left off on this slide right here.
Are you sure it was that slide or was it the slides before?
Might need to start back at the
That was
first.
supposed to be a joke, but
I thought you left off at the question slide.
yeah. So we are in, as y'all remember, I've been going over just the projects that we've been working on over the past year in the 2023 budget year. And this the one we left off on here is within the inflow. We refer to it as the I&I fund, but it's the Sanitary Sewer Improvement Fund. And I wanted to come back to this one specifically just because it's a multi-year project, and you guys will be seeing it coming back through. But it's backup power for lift stations. We had it on the budget to purchase 5 generators, and we were actually able to purchase 6, and in the next upcoming year. I say that and I apologize because I know that we're in the next coming year. I say that started this week, but we'll actually be doing the install of those seven backup generators for the lift stations. Currently, right now, if we lose power at those lift stations, and it's not good for anybody's heartburn. All right, Sanitary Sewer Capital Improvement Fund. This is $800,000 for the WRF belt press design and for the WRF structural upgrade. For the belt press, this has been deferred into next year or to this year. Last year we piloted two vendors, the Fournier and the S Mill, which are two different styles of belt presses. I shouldn't say belt presses. I forget the word for it now. I apologize. Dewatering systems. One is a drum system, and the other one is a screw type press. But we piloted those two types, and we kind of made our decisions that those are the two we're the most happy with, and those are what we'll be putting out to bid, and hopefully bidding those together will help get us a better price on whichever one that is in this next year. Excuse me, out at the water reclamation facility, the sewer plant, we had some, we labeled this as structural upgrades, but they're really not structural upgrades. They're basically just, there was some settling that was going on out there, and we took the time to address those items. There was some stairs that needed to replace. There's some settlement alongside the edges that was backfilled and protected with concrete. Stormwater fund, that's always a big list. First project within that was the Cherokee Pump Station upgrades. This is over there behind the Honda House. It's about 95%. The design is about 95% complete. We've been doing that in-house. This year we purchased 2 pumps, and the rest of the upgrades will be happening over the next year. Spot repairs along North Boggy Creek box. This is it's an underground egg-shaped box that's located underneath the street. The design was done in-house. We awarded, we put out the bid for the repairs, as awarded to Luckinville. So that construction will be happening here pretty quick. 1500 Norman Road box. This is out kind of south side of town. Design was done in-house. Haskell Lemons was a low bid, and construction is actually scheduled to start, I think, next week, I think is when the notice to proceed is. And that's going to include the replacement of 2 culverts that are out there that are in pretty rough shape.
How long does that take to do? How long would that road be? About? Just-
6 months maybe. I'm sorry, I should have looked at that.
I think the notice I got was it would be closed from roughly right now to early December.
Yeah, which roughly, yeah. Yeah, that sounds about right. I should have looked at the dates, but I didn't. But I can get you the exact answer on that.
Okay. Just-
Waller detention pond and drainage design. So this is design will be conducted this year in house. Last year we actually had a tree service come out and do a removal of the trees and some of the older structures that were located in that area. This is over there by the old Blue Horse Barn, Chestnut and Cleveland area.
Jason, they're not done yet. They still have equipment sitting over there.
Yeah,
truck
they've got a
piles.
little bit of cleanup left to do, and
Are they gonna smooth it out, or?
yeah, they'll clean it up, smooth it up. About every single time they come out of the city, about every time they get here, it rains on them. So,
Been an unusual July.
yes, it has. So he's probably been trying to finish it for about a month now. But he's right there.
So then after that's all done and smoothed over, then we'll go in and we'll dig a detention area right there?
We'll hire a contractor to dig a detention, and I think Morale talked about trying to have some aesthetically pleasing, like maybe a fountain or something, and have it be a
Yeah.
wet detention, I think
Yeah,
is
we
what.
haven't completed the design of the actual pond quite yet. And we actually, it was so heavily wooded in there that we actually couldn't get the survey completed until we got the
Kinda
trees out of the
search
way.
it.
So now we'll come back and do a good survey on it and figure out, and Mr. Gilbert's right. I think it's Morale's intention to possibly do like a walking trail or something kind of, something appeasing to the eye and
Mhm.
fountain and things of that nature. But
Yeah. Okay.
We call that a twofer, because you get stormwater control and maybe you get some quality of life, so it's a 2-for-1.
Yes, sir.
Hopefully. Or maybe a 3-fer.
You will if you put some art in there.
Well, one of you's on that committee, I think. I don't remember who.
Actually, I think Commissioner Blevins is.
North Buck.
Mosquito repellent in there would probably be good too.
Well, hopefully that will make some changes to that. Will cause that to flow a little bit better in that area. So yes, get some fish in there, have some fresh water in there. They'll take care of those mosquitoes. North Boggy Creek along Meadow Lake. This north of Spruce Drainage Improvements. This project, I wanted to get a little further along on it this year, but I had some difficulties with public outreach and right-of-way acquisition. So this coming year, I'm going to get the design done. I do have the survey complete, but this is it's a small. It's kind of hard to see on this map. I apologize, but so this is Spruce, I believe, and then Meadowbrook is this intersection right here. And if you're unfamiliar with the area, there's a creek that runs back up in here, and it's one of those areas that sits there and holds water. doesn't drain properly, and so with this design, we'll get it improved to where it'll flow properly.
Over the years, because of silt and other things, the creek has changed course.
Yes.
So I think part of the issue is not even in the easements anymore, and so we're trying to, it'll be a significant project.
Mhm.
Commissioner Roberts, I think you live in that neighborhood. So you know what we're talking about.
Yeah. Jason, will that change anything with FEMA's floodplain designations in the area when you?
No, we won't do anything that increases the rise or the levels there in that area. Excuse me. Meadows South drainage. The design was conducted in-house, and the award was to Jose Barbosa, excuse me, J&B Concrete Construction. I actually had a pre-design meeting or pre-construction meeting with him this week, and he plans on beginning construction on that in September. So,
So on these stormwater drains, and I just mentioned this to you right before the meeting started, mentioned this to city manager, but I've had a ton of residents contacting me about mud washing off into these storm drains that we've installed. And right now they're pooling with water, vegetation's out of control, mosquitoes are bad. Yeah, are they designed to, I don't know, keep mud out, or how does that work exactly? 'Cause if not, it's, you know, Gerald, this is gonna be something that we're gonna have to get a bobcat in to scrape these out twice a year, and that's obviously gonna add up in cost.
Yeah.
So,
what I can speak for to that end is the ones that we've designed while I've been here and designed and constructed while I've been here. They are designed with that intent, is to be able to get down in there, either A, and mow the edges,
okay.
and B, be able to run a 5-foot skid steer down along to clean it out. So kind of what's already here, what's been constructed before, we're just kind of working the best we can on those.
I mean, I understand if that's the way it is, but we got to get these cleaned up, especially right now with it being the rainy season. You know, I have elderly residents telling me they can't even enjoy their backyard because the mosquitoes are that bad. So,
Yeah, I understand, and one of the ditches over there between Hoover and Mulberry, we've already mowed.
yes.
Which I'm very proud of the team for responding quickly. Now, that didn't deal with the ditch itself and cleaning out the sediment. That's a deal that, that's about a one-time-a-year thing, because that's labor intensive, and, but we will do that. We've done it in the past on that ditch.
Okay.
And that ditch itself is a significant improvement over what used to be there. And we do, and you highlight some of the challenges we do have. Mowing is a big challenge. You know, it's going to be difficult to keep up. Normally is without it raining in July. So I'm not trying to make excuses. I'm just trying to manage expectations. It will be challenging, and the truth that we probably need to do some better education with our people is some of these ditches are truly ditches that we have that are city property, and some of them actually may be on homeowners' property, but we still have a duty to maintain them because we have an easement. So we'll do our best. I know the mayor gave me a letter from somebody else recently that we'll be working on, but I wanted you to know we did, Hoover Mulberry ditch has been taken care of as far as mowing on the edges. So hopefully the residents notice the effort there and understand that it is raining a lot. When it rains a lot and then it gets hot, grass really grows in Oklahoma. So the Bermuda looks the best it's ever looked.
Yeah.
In various places, including drainage ditches, unfortunately.
And to further Gerald's point, this project, oops, I skipped over it. Sorry, the one that's over there on Spruce and Meadowbrook, that's an example of one that is actually outside of the existing easements, and so therefore it takes, not all residents are privy to having the city come on and do dirt work and mowing.
Which is shocking to me when we try to do an improvement. So, Commissioner Roberts, we may reach out to you, because they may be some of your neighbors. We would expect that as we do the improvement, that people would give us.
Behind my house too, and that area is, when it rains a lot, there's people that ride sea-doos through it, and half the neighbors take care of it and half of them don't. So I was just trying to decide on who's responsible for that area.
That's a good effort, or a good example, of if we pulled it up, those property lines, I know from experience, go further than people think, further than they have their fences. So we do our best to maintain in there, but it's really, it's a mess, and it's a mess, and you know it. So we're gonna try to make it better.
Area was also deemed floodplains at one point in time, so I mean, when it does rain a whole bunch, it does come up to my fence line. So if I put my fence on my actual property line, it would be underwater whenever we get high water down
And that's
there.
probably part of the reason.
Yeah.
What I think we need to do, Jason, as we get closer on this project, is maybe have a homeowner meeting
Yeah.
with Commissioner Roberts there in her neighborhood or somewhere,
Yeah,
where we
that's-
can explain what we're doing. Hopefully, when we explain what we're doing, we're trying to make it better. But if some people use it as a recreational area, they may disagree with it.
So, kind of good timing on your questions too, Commissioner Blevins. This project here was a new project that we started this last year, and it was titled "The Establishment of Flow Lines for Proper Drainage," and it was kind of doing what along those lines of what you're talking about, hitting locations where, where these items were actually, you know, like you mentioned, mowing was difficult, drainage was poor, and so this kind of list of projects that are there are projects that we addressed. This is over in Falcon Crest. This is the backyard of a gentleman. This used to not drain at all, and now it's free and clear and draining good. This is a property located over kind of between Purdue and Cleveland, kind of in that area, and the homeowner's property, this low water crossing that was there was not draining, and so that we came in and addressed that and installed that to where it's flowing better. And then these had so many of those little projects. I apologize, I didn't include those, but that's exactly the type of projects that those are addressing.
Was one of those projects, was one of those projects in Pheasant Run?
Correct. Yep, that's the
Is that the one we just?
that's the Deerfield.
Okay, all right.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's the one on the right,
Uh,
or not? No, you said that was Falcon Crest. I just wanted to mention,
Oh.
Commissioner Orr, Mr. Crush lives over on Deerfield, and we talked to him quite a bit, worked on the ditch over there. I haven't heard from him in a while, so I don't know if that means things are better or if he's given up on us, but I've been over there when it's raining, and it appears to be draining better.
Good.
As that new development happens over there, which the Great Plains Health Clinic that's building that was required to build that detention there. So we also filled a hole in front of his house that I think he had an issue with, and we took care of cutting some shrubbery, some brush out of one of the other. We did that might have been last year, but these are additional projects that come up during the year, either because they need to be maintained or something breaks on it. And so I just wanted to point these out as we talk about them, because we are working very hard to address the issues that you bring to us. We'll try to use the engineering line. Everything can be fixed with enough money and time. So,
I've never said that, Jim. The next drainage project, it was just a design phase of the project, is a large area over Lincoln Avenue, I believe, is Oak to Chestnut drainage improvements. We had a large area surveyed. This is over there, kind of, I believe, this is Chestnut, and this is Lincoln that's running here. So this is the large BNSF rail yard, and so we've got a good survey, and we're starting to study on what we can do to improve this area. I know we've had several requests to improve the streets in this area. Unfortunately, we cannot improve the streets in that area until we get the drainage improvements done, so that the longevity of the road will actually be there. It'll just get soft and ruin the road within a short time. So the design and study of that is currently underway. Survey is complete, and it'll be a big enough project that it'll be a phased construction, probably over 2-3 years. So Old Channel Boggy and North Boggy Creek LiDAR inspections. These are inspections that we've began doing last year of our older storm drain pipes, the larger ones, the ones that are 6-7 foot in diameter. Basically, these just run through. LiDAR is kind of like a scanning type system that scans the insides of the pipes to check for any kind of damage or any kind of areas that need improved or fixed. We laid that out. We laid the plans out in-house, and then Luckenbill was a low bidder. And that's supposed to be it is underway. Water capital improvement funds. And water maintenance funds, they included 3 projects: the street repairs, or we refer to it as a water break point repair project, and fire hydrant and valve replacements, and air relief valves replacements for the well fields. The water cut point repairs administrated by Public Utilities, and I think you guys seen those slides from Ashley and sorry, I forgot her name. Apologize. Faith, thank you. And done by Jose, J&B Construction. They did 40 locations this year. Water capital improvement funds. This current year, we had 3 projects: Oklahoma Avenue, Cherokee Avenue, and the Randolph. For the Oklahoma project, design was conducted in-house. Low bid was Southwest Waterworks, and construction will be beginning following the Randolph project. Cherokee Avenue, 700 to 2,000 blocks. Design was conducted in-house. It's DEQ approved, and currently we're waiting on some of the funding to come through on that before that's put out to bid. And then Randolph Avenue, Van Buren to Washington. This is the one that Southwest Waterworks is working on currently. I'd take a stab at maybe they're probably 25 to 30% done on that work, and we did that design in-house as well. So this year, or last year, we had 13 total. We worked on 13 total projects from previous years, and then we had 42 total, 23 projects that we worked on. 34 of those are still within the design/construction phase, and 8 of the 42 are complete. I want to throw this out there. I wish I would have got the number on there, but one thing I thought was a really common theme as I was going through my presentation, we did a lot of stuff in-house this year. The majority of our design was completed in-house, and that stretches our construction dollars, and I think that's something I'm pretty proud of with our team.
That's a good note. If there are any engineers out there that want to come and do civil engineering
Absolutely.
projects, which is the most cool kind of engineering,
Yes,
we've got an opening.
yes, please come to
see
my
us.
office.
Come see you.
Yes. Yes. So, Morale wanted me to speak towards those 13 projects that are in progress currently from previous years, just to fill you guys in on where those projects are at. The first project is Chestnut West Detention Facility. This is out there on the north side of Pheasant Run Golf Course. This has kind of been, I jokingly call this the contractor's retirement plan, just because it's been a long-running project for a long time. But he's out there working on it now to get it completed. I think he plans to have it completed within the next couple of months. Just side note on beverage construction, he got pulled off of this project to work on several other projects for us, and he's a great contractor. But so he's back there now to finish that one up.
So he was working on our project?
Yeah, we told him to hold off on it and work on other things for us. So, yeah, he's done a lot of work out of the soccer complex and some street projects. He does some street projects as a sub on a lot of projects.
We're also going to either ask them or STK to come out towards the end of this project. I know at the very end of the project, where the new drainage ditch drains out into whatever creek that is,
Mm-hmm.
There's some issues with the homeowner.
Yeah.
Commissioner Ward, you know, we've been working with Mr. Manasco for a while, and I know that, talking with Morale, there's been some silting that shouldn't have happened, I think, coming from that development. And so I think we're going to ask them to come and put in some more riprap and things. And so, anyway, that's, haven't heard any other complaints on this drainage, but it does impact everything, and this is upstream detention, so everything flowing out of there impacts the rest of town.
Yep. Willow Detention expansion. This is the expansion of the soccer, the Willow soccer fields detention that's over there behind the service center. This project is complete. It's nearly complete. They're waiting on a valve to come in, which had come in last week, and so they've got it installed now, and so they're just doing some of the button-up work to complete the project. Soccer complex, the new soccer complex. I shouldn't have design. I just bragged on in-house, and that shouldn't have in-house on it. North Central Construction has been working on this project for the last 3 years now. They are complete, and all they lack is the punch list items. It is their intentions. They have some projects to complete in Stillwater, and then they'll be returning to finish their punch list.
This isn't North End?
No, sir.
Okay, all right.
Before you leave that one, the front end of that place is not pretty.
Yeah.
Is that still our responsibility?
You're talking about the ditches, the mowing, or the drives?
Anywhere you turn into that soccer
Yeah.
complex, it's ugly.
This has been a fantastic project. It's a private-public deal. And the downside of the public-private thing is there's some things we're responsible for and some things that they're responsible for. On mowing of the ditches, generally that's our responsibility. The drives and stuff if you don't have it on the list here, we're going to want to talk about that a bit. There's a different contractor that is responsible to us that we're working with that, in my opinion, is not getting it done. So we're pulling work away from them, giving to somebody else because we're trying to get that work done. And part of that is the drives in. Those haven't been completed yet, so it probably looks like a mud mess. The ditches are ours to mow, and then beyond that, it's the facilities.
I was more concerned about the streets and the infrastructure right there at the
Yeah.
front end of it.
I'm
I drove
cons-
out there last week.
Yeah.
And I was there 6 or 8 weeks ago, and it was bad then. I mentioned it to you then, and you said we're gonna try to focus on it. And I know we had crummy weather for construction for the last 2 months. So,
We have, I will tell you that in my opinion, well, Jason knows what my opinion is, and so does Morale, and so therefore we are moving some of that work to another contractor. So what you're going to see in the future is likely a change order deduct from one, and we should have a change order to another contractor who gets stuff done in town.
Okay.
And part of that contractor, which is North End's responsibility, is to get that street done. And you're right, I don't think anything's happened in 8 weeks, and I know it's rained, but we're all tired of hearing it's rain, because when the sun's shining, what do they say? You gotta make hay when the sun's shining. So I think, Gary, if he's listening tonight, there's nothing that he hasn't heard directly from me or you, Jason, and so I think we need to keep plugging away. I don't know if J&B made any headway. We really just got them going this week, and it's
Yeah,
rained a lot.
It rained, yep.
So, but yes, we recognize, we are definitely trying to work together with Pillar, and I know Pillar's not done with everything that they have to, including stuff inside the building, but it's sensitive to us because it's been a wonderful project, and I've also gotten a few calls from Mark Allen, and so it's important for us to get this done. So I know, Jason, you're all over it.
The 100 to 1000 block of West Elm. This project is over there in front of the elementary school. Design was done in-house, and J&B Concrete's doing the construction. I think they're approximately about 75% done. They plan on being completed with this project prior to moving to the Meadows project. So, East Birch Street reconstruction between 16th and 23rd. Rick Lorenz Construction's been working on this one this past year. They are really close to being done. I asked earlier today, and I think the number was 95% was where they're at on their numbers. And so they're nearly complete. They got a few little things to do along sidewalks and a few things that they're waiting on OG&E to remove some poles to finish up the sidewalk.
That's a concrete street, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, those concrete streets that we reconstruct, I know you guys know this, and I'm thinking of that wonderful ribbon cutting we had at Maple, which is in that general vicinity. This street should look like that. I haven't been out to see it yet. Maybe you have, Commissioner, but I think it's gonna look wonderful. Is it yours? Okay. Well, I'm thinking it's gonna look wonderful. So when we have the ribbon cutting, you're gonna be asked to come and
Get your speech
be the
ready.
keynote speaker.
Well, I think it's impressive, the new concrete work that we've done in the last year. And the quality of the work we're getting from these contractors is impressive too, and the timeliness. So I just hope we got enough money to continue on, so.
Well, I think you have good administration at the city, so we will never have enough money to do all the projects, but we're building them really well. I don't know if, I saw something online recently about the Romans did something. Well, the Romans did a lot, but the Romans aren't around anymore. What we're doing is going to last 50 to 100 years, and hopefully we're still going to be around.
Yeah, Derek, make sure you get that. Don't let me forget to do the ribbon cutting on those. I apologize, I forget to do those. Get so excited I get done, I'm done.
That's okay. You keep pushing the project.
Signal improvements over on Independence and Garriott. We have finally got this project underway. I do not know why, but for some reason it takes like a year for companies to make the signal poles and then the components that go to stand those up. So those have finally been built, and I don't remember if they've been delivered yet or not, but I know they're on their way. I spoke with the contractor earlier in the week, and he had some minor questions, and so I know they're on their way. They've got the footings installed, and so they're probably approximately 30 to 40% done. They'll stand up. There'll be new signals, new pedestrian signals, new cabinet, new whole system, and then we'll also do improvements to the ADA crossings at the four corners.
And those will be very similar, exactly the same as the Grand and Garriott.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yeah, they'll be identical. Yep. The unofficial water line improvements. This project, obviously a large project, 1.7. Luckinville Construction has been working on this for approximately 8-9 months now, maybe even longer than that. But they're nearly complete. I saw today that we had about 85% build on it, and they're just finishing up some of the loop lines that are kind of off to the edges that help tie in and keep the water fresh on that part of the system.
Jason, we got to take a minute, and I know it's not quite done, but we're going to take a victory lap on this one.
Absolutely, sir.
And when it's done, we're going to have another ribbon cutting. You remember many of you were there for the groundbreaking. And I would like to say that we just did this and it was at light speed, but I do remember there were some ladies in Southern Heights. And they came and talked to us. And I feel like the city moved at light speed. I want to say that was around February of 21.
Mm-hmm.
And, yes, it's over 2 years, but this is almost done. It's a $1.8 million project. All the water lines are new. The water meters are new. I think some of those ladies have been back and said that everything's wonderful. And I think, Commissioner Norwood, I think you said your water pressure's better or something when you take showers now. So this is something that the city, these projects are what people are looking for us to do, for the commission. And these are the projects that I know we're excited about. So you guys, please ask your questions tonight, because this is what makes a difference for the people that live here. And this is going to be the water line system for 50 to 100 years. Unfortunately, what was over there was some of the oldest water lines in town. Mm-hmm. So now they have some of the newest water lines in town. So I'm very proud of this and the effort by the city. I do give the credit to the Southern Heights ladies And Commissioner Norwood, I can remember your father coming to a study session when we were over at the Strike Bank Center, talking to us about water pressures for development. So that area, to me, is much, much improved, and that's a legacy for everybody. That's for the commissioners and for us. Jason, for getting stuff done. So I'm proud of it.
I'd like to chime in on that as well. It has made a difference because when I re-renovated my house quite some time ago, about 19 years ago, I had took out all the old metal pipes and everything and put in the PEX. And I put in a 3/4 and 1/2 inch. And I still couldn't tell that much of a difference. But once that, exterior line, the major lines, the main lines were replaced, that's what made the difference because it increased the volume in the area. So I just want to thank the city staff and everyone that was on the council and everyone that's on here now for taking care of that situation. And also we expanded that into Ward 3 in Commissioner Saragusa's ward, and it's been worked on. And we made a very wise decision to bring that capital improvement project in. And I'm grateful for you, Commissioner Saragusa. When we were looking at the loan, you caught it, as far as the interest, going ahead and paying that debt rather than lengthening that loan out, and we would have paid so much money over time. That was a very wise decision. And one other thing I'd like to echo and say on this project, believe it or not, real soon, we're going to have some housing development. I know individuals who are getting money together. Like you all said earlier, it takes time and it takes money. So if this wouldn't have happened, that development couldn't have happened because our fire department wouldn't have been able to put fires out, and the insurance companies wouldn't have wanted to have insured houses that were a liability. So hey, thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Chief Courier, when I guess we're done, you're going to send your people out to put new disc on those hydrants, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, whenever they get all get in service, we'll go and flow test to make sure everything's good, and you'll see the new colored rings on them. And yeah, the fire department thanks you for upgrading those water lines as well. We can breathe easy going in those neighborhoods if we have a problem and know that we have a better water supply.
It felt really good. I kept looking at a green one for a long time.
Yeah.
And one day I was out cutting my yard and I said, oh, wow, I have a blue ring.
It was good. Yeah.
Made me feel good. Thank you, Chief.
One other final comment on this is, as you mentioned, through the loan process and us working with DEQ on these, this really kind of opened the door for us and proved that we are fully capable of handling projects like this with whole neighborhood improvements. And so it's kind of a proud testament to not just the engineering department, but also to the contractors that we've got in this town that can handle this type and this size of projects. Because it was a big project. I mean, it's a massive project.
OWRB is a great partner in
Yes.
this too because of that loan funding. We were only paying 75 cents on the dollar for this project and getting $1 worth of project. So it's just fantastic all the way around, a testament. And we're gonna have a party at that ribbon cutting. And we're all invited.
Excuse me. The 100 to 500 block of West Elm Avenue, water line relocation. This is over there where they're currently finishing up the construction for the roadway. This has a few little items that need to be completed, and that should be completed once the roadways is completed as well. This project here, Mr. Hunter could speak to a little further in depth on the purposes of it, but I didn't mention that to him, but he didn't have to if you don't have any questions. But basically what this project is doing is it's going around town and identifying any kind of service lines that may be of inferior materials, i.e. lead, copper, galvanized, things that could potentially cause harm to the residents. And so this is like a survey, and they're literally, we've randomly picked spots throughout town, and they're actually going in and digging up the lines, identifying the material, and kind of creating a database. This is primarily through DEQ, is that correct?
Yes, and this is actually part of what's called the lead and copper requirement for drinking water. If you think back, everybody in the world knows about Flint, Michigan, and how that changed the regulatory landscape. We do have a requirement to have an assessment of what we have in the ground by October. We are actually ahead of the curve, and DEQ has actually been calling us, asking us how we're doing it so they can make some of their rules for the rest of the state. We will be going down to a meeting at the city in, I think, the 21st, if I remember correctly, and we'll be essentially presenting what we're doing. But we started this about a year and a half ago with looking essentially at the age of the city based on plat information. And then we've been taking that and cutting off the date when lead was essentially taken out of plumbing, which was around mid 80s, late 80s. And then we actually sampled that information to get this list of pipes to identify. And then we're essentially going to extrapolate that to the whole city to get an idea of where we have lead, where we have copper, where we don't. And we're also combine that with all the different water line projects that they've been doing over the last few years. So it's kind of a cool geek out nerd thing, but it's also going to give us an idea of what's going on in the water and also get us into the area of regulatory compliance. So, and it's actually going to save us some money in having to do it a lot manually. So it's very, I think, a good project for us.
Hey, quick question on that, because I know that issue in Flint, Michigan was a major ordeal, but let's say we go through there and we find some lead main lines that belong to the city, and then that goes into the meter, and then it turns and goes into the house, and they have lead lines. Who will be responsible for replacing those?
Well, one thing about that is Oklahoma, ODEQ, has not actually determined the final regulation. So we don't actually know what the requirement will be. And then when it does actually come out, that will be a discussion city with the commission on where they want to go. I will say we have looked at about 300 service lines. We found one that was lead so far. So I think we're doing very well. The other part of that is the water quality aspect. And Flint, Michigan had very soft, corrosive water. Our water is actually very stable. So even in the event that we actually find lead lines, it is very unlikely that any of that lead is actually going to be a public health concern to the community. So we're actually looking at it from a couple of different viewpoints. But at this point, right now, if we find something, we've just been replacing it, and on that one line so far. Yes.
So we just identify it right now, even on our lines. We don't actually do anything.
Right, yeah,
Until
and it's at
yeah.
this point, this is a way for us to understand what's in the ground going back to prior to essentially right around the turn of the century. And then once we know what's in the ground, then the next step is to say, okay, you know what's in the ground, what do you want to do about it?
Okay, I understand. Okay, thank you.
I think one of the reasonings there too is like you mentioned, 1 out of 300 houses have been found. I don't know the numbers, so don't scorch me on it, but if we have 6,000 total houses in town, I don't know what the number is for sure. But you probably know that number.
About 17,500.
Okay, there we go. So I knew somebody in here would know exactly.
Yeah.
But we could extrapolate that out to say, okay, well, we have this many houses that we would have to replace, and then we could come. That's when we could come be commission
okay.
and say,
Yes, sir.
hey, we need this number of dollars to fix this many houses.
We're anticipating that there'll probably be some grant programs, I would think,
And
because
that's
we
the
know
other side.
DEQ
That's
is
the
thinking
other
of the
side of it.
regulations, are probably also going to be thinking about, and probably have access to federal money to help us with this,
Yes.
so.
Yes, and one thing that they did note is that us being so far ahead of the curve, we're actually at the front of the line when those grant programs do get pushed out. So they want projects where they have essentially shovel-ready money to be spent, and we're kind of trying to get ahead of the regulations so that when we do want to put our hand out, we can be first.
I have a quick, I'm sorry.
No.
I got a question, and maybe Scott or Gerald can help me on this one. In case we do have a situation like that where we find multiple houses that have some lead in them, will that, and we go and receive grants, say we're able to receive some grants on that. Will that come through the city of Enid's budget directly, or will that go through CDBG?
Well, that's a good question. I think it could go both ways.
Yeah.
I think Laura's here and could at some point speak to that. I think, and if you're, I don't recall if you're still on the funding committee or not, but you may have some influence on that as well as the commission does. I would expect the grant dollars would come to the city for us to have a program, I would think. But David, you've been talking to him. What do you see?
Most of the funding would be actually through ODEQ, but it would be based on the money from the CDBG based on the socioeconomic levels. So where we have the need would allow us to ask for more money in effect. So the same requirements that are there for CDBG would be similar for this part of town has a higher need, so we can ask for a little bit more money.
Yeah, because, on our side of it, through capital improvements coming from sales tax revenue, however we receive the money, whether it be grants or whatever, a lot of the individuals might not be able to afford it. And that's what I got from your question. How will we be able to assist them if they cannot afford it?
Yeah, because I think there's probably many of them that can't
Yes.
just take that on. It wouldn't be cheap to.
Yes, and I had already reached out to Laura, asking her where the areas that cover CDBG were, and we've already been talking to our grants person, Stephen, about getting on this, looking out for this ahead of time.
Speaking of that, the one pipe that you found, where was it located?
I have it on a map, but I don't have it in my head. Yeah, and I will also say, part of the requirement is to address the effects on the smaller population, the kids, and we are working with Enid Public Schools, and there is a program to where they can request assistance if they find anything inside of their schools. I think we've sampled 2 or 3. We have found no evidence of any type of lead showing up in the water. There's another one that we're working on right now with daycares for the city that we'll be kind of pushing out probably in the next month or so as well. So those are some of the areas that there is funding for that will not go through the city. The school district did have to specifically ask ODEQ for the money, and the daycares will have to specifically request the money from ODEQ, sorry. God, lost my tongue.
Thanks, David. No, thank you so much.
Jason, is there a reason why we skipped 66?
Yeah, it's a duplicate side. That's the Randolph Van Buren over there. I think it accidentally slipped into there. I talked about it earlier.
No, the 100 to 500 block of West Elm, I think, was 66.
Oh, I talked about it a little bit. Okay. It's a water line relocation project that's along Elm over there between Van Buren and Washington.
I was just gonna have a little fun with you. You might want to change the picture on the first side, on the left side, since that's in Ward 3 and that's Gore and Elm
Garfield Elementary.
in the background.
Well, thank you for pointing that out because I'll speak to
Because that was last year. That was last year's
That was
project.
last
That
year.
was done very well.
Yes, that was done. Thank you for pointing that out. I appreciate that. So that is over on 5th and Gore. We had a little bit of funding actually left over on this project, and that's actually why the project's not done yet. I had some extra funding, and so there was a block over there between 4th and 5th that didn't get replaced with that project, and so that's actually from over there. Thank you for pointing that out. Thank you. Appreciate you. All right. Okay. So this is a Garland Road waterline project. We got the widening and then also the intersection project. These projects were awarded to Southwest last year. Just a large project, and so they just haven't got it completed yet. I say that, and they are on the doorstep. They've just got a few other little small things to complete. We've completed the walkthrough, and they've got their punch list items to complete, and so they'll be done probably within the next month or so.
Jason, was this at the, Garland and Randolph?
This one here?
Yeah, with one of our guys deep in the pit, because OBA contacted contacted me. I believe they contacted Commissioner Roberts too. We kind of,
Ah.
contractor tore up some of their cross-country track.
I've seen that they've laid sod.
Yeah.
It's out there since then.
And it has been resodded, but that actually is OBA's property and is their cross-country course, and they have a rather large event coming up in October. So I think we need to let the contractors be aware of that so that they're not tearing it up. And if they do, then it needs to be resodded.
Okay. Yeah,
We have resodded that, so I think that.
I
at
believe
least
we
part of
have,
it-
and
And I think the project's almost complete, is that what you're
yeah,
saying?
it's
So-
very near complete, yeah. And I purchased, I've got right of way over there. So the water line was installed and they didn't work off of any of the, there was no water line installed off of the right of way. So if any of the areas that are outside of the right of way that need to be fixed, I'll get it fixed as soon as possible.
I think I'd reached out, I know I had reached out, or after you talked to me, to James Cheatham, who's the principal over there, and we went and took a look. I haven't gone back to him, but I knew we fixed it.
Yeah,
And
about
I think
the
they're
time-
okay, so I think they're
Yeah.
happy with what we've done.
Yeah, about the time it got to me, it was already fixed. So I was very happy with that. And then this project, I spoke a little bit towards earlier, the East Oklahoma Avenue. Southwest Waterworks will begin construction on this once they complete the Randolph project, probably in the fall.
And that's a big one for the fire department also.
Yeah, both of these, Oklahoma and Cherokee, are good water.
It's the most concentrated red fire hydrants, and
There's a lot of houses along those two streets in that section of town.
they're all tinder boxes too.
Yes.
They're all old wood framed houses.
Are there any other projects or questions around town that you got that are, you can shoot at me and I can answer for you?
Do you guys
Just give me 1 minute. Jason, I was just gonna say, thank you so much. I know infrastructure does not fix itself. It just gets worse and worse and worse. So I'm always amazed by just how many projects you guys do. I'm impressed that you do so much of it in-house. And we appreciate all the time and effort. And every time I talk to some of the team, they're just covered up as hard as they can go. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate, like the other commissioners said a while ago, how much work's being done, and hopefully this will get us another 50 or
Absolutely.
60 years. I'll be almost 70 by that time. So anyway, that's all I had.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just had a quick, and these will be easy for you, you'll know the
Oh,
answers.
you got a list.
Actually, we already talked about the soccer park.
Yes, sir.
Cleveland, well, you may have talked about it already, or maybe it was last time. Where are we at on Cleveland, north of the railroad tracks to Willow?
Okay, yeah, I spoke about it last meeting, but actually, if you guys noticed on your claims list today, that we're actually paying our $4.6 million to ODOT so that the project can be released for letting. That's supposed to take place in October, which is not as soon as I hoped it would be, but that's as soon as it's going to happen. So it'll be let in October. And so it'll go out to bid, it'll go through all those processes, and so hopefully by Christmas time, we'll be working towards getting that construction underway. So,
As part of that construction, how is the drainage going to be addressed? I know, is the drainage going to be underground now on one side or the other? Is it still going to be open ditches?
the majority of the drainage that goes along there comes from the northwest. And if you remember the last couple of years, we did those improvements to the drainage channel that's behind Jumbo's and runs off to the west right now. I'm sorry, east, I apologize. So we're going to cut off a lot of that drainage and send it east over to the Willow Soccer Complex detention that's over there by the service center. But then the rest of it, yes, will be underground. Most of the ditches will be filled in, and it'll be underground because since it's going to be a smaller volume, since we took out that portion that's to the north.
And so it'll look better aesthetically. And I know, Commissioner Stallings, you had some questions in the past. We may want to, as we get a little closer, want to visit with you. I don't know if you still have concerns from constituents, but stormwater is always a concern.
Well, that neighborhood on the west side takes it pretty bad when it rains, and they're concerned. And what are you gonna do at the railroad?
They're,
Put in more pipes or?
yeah, they're installing some appropriate sized, correct elevation pipes. I don't know if you've ever been over there and seen that situation that's over there, but there are several small pipes that are all kinds of elevations and all kind of levels that are just not capable of it. So Poe and Associates actually, in their design, they basically what we're installing new is supposed to handle everything. So,
You know, my question is, done a lot of railroad crossings, and if it hadn't been started, it ain't gonna happen for another 2 years.
oh yeah, absolutely, yeah, and that's part of the reason this project has been ongoing for so long. We have. Last I spoke with the designers on the project, they've had everything in line with the railroad, and the actual part of the railroad the railroad portion is supposed to be being bid at the same time the widening portion is. So it's supposed to be happening in conjunction.
Maybe we can look at doing an update on that
Absolutely.
in the near future as we get, because the plans are complete if they're, right?
Yes, sir.
If they're
Yes.
getting ready to go out. So
Yeah.
we're happy to visit with you or come back to a study session and share that.
Mhm.
I know you've also taken a lot of effort working with Mr. Blevins at Jumbo's
Yes.
on his issue that he has back there, and I think we've satisfied him for the moment with a cut for a potential truck loading dock in the back.
Mhm.
I think he's in a holding pattern on that right now, based on some of his own business concerns. So I appreciate you working with the significant business owner there.
Yep. So I actually, like I said, the gentleman from ODOT emailed me today asking me where he's kind of a pal of mine. He said, "Where's my money at?" And so I said,
In the mail.
I said it'll be in the mail soon. So.
We love ODOT, but they don't do anything until they get paid.
That's right.
I got one more thing that I'll just give a quick update on and probably share more with you guys soon. I know that Jason Jansen reached out today, and Murali's out for a little bit, but I know he reached out to us talking about the pipe remediation issue, so I will send you an update, and we may update you next time on that plan about how it's moving along. Jason said in his email that it appeared that the efforts, I think he said we're going to start around July 17th. But again, we just got the email, I believe it was this morning. So I just want to give you a quick update. I think next week we have the regular Call Lake monthly meeting with the contractors. So we'll know more, and there'll be some good slides there. Some of you, you're all welcome to attend if you'd like. Trying to remember, I think it's 1:30 or something like that out there. So anyway, I just want to briefly tell you, I'll give you an update on the pipe coating, probably in more detail, but Jason Jansen from Garney is saying that that's going to start on July 17th with the contractor. So that's really all I have. This is a great opportunity. If there's any engineering project that Jason talked about or didn't talk about, now's a great time to ask.
I feel like I talked about everything.
You talked, the Prairie View sidewalk. I know, Commissioner Orr, everything takes longer and costs more than we think, but the Prairie View sidewalk that you talked to us about, probably when you first came in a couple years ago, was actually in the budget. And I believe we selected a designer with ODOT. Of course, we have a grant to move forward with that. Can you just briefly update us on that?
Yes, we've got a grant to complete that project. We did a selection process a couple weeks ago, and we picked a design firm to help us with that. They actually did a walkthrough last week, and so the pre-design meeting, I think they're going to go back to their offices for a little bit, and then we're going to sit down again and do a pre-design meeting in the upcoming weeks. And so basically what's going to happen is they'll design the project. This will be really similar to like the Cleveland project. Like they'll basically go through, a firm an ODOT approved firm will go through and do the design and work with us on what's going to happen at the project. And then once we're happy with it, it'll go to ODOT for approval. and, you know, all the hoops, the NEPA hoops and all that good stuff. And it'll go through that process, and then it will be released and bid by ODOT. So,
I realize the design's not done, but I think you said last time, is it going to be 10-foot sidewalks?
yeah, it's an intention to be a
And is
trail.
it all on the north side of the road?
Yes.
Okay.
So what are we looking at, what's the possible time frame to get it going?
I would, if I'd hate to give you a guess, but it's probably a year probably before any kind of real action.
It'll probably get designed in the next 6 months?
In the
I'm
next
guessing?
6 months, and then probably
And
by
then
the
in the
time
next
you.
6 months,
Yeah.
it'll get awarded, and then whatever the timeline is of the contractor.
Yeah.
So it's still, unfortunately, a little ways away, but the great news, it's in the pipeline, it's funded, got a designer selected, so it's going to happen.
Yeah, it won't be as a long drawn out process as Cleveland was, because it's all going to happen on right away. So there won't be very little, if any, right away to purchase and things of that nature to happen. So
I did have a question on the, while we were speaking about walking trails and bike trails. I know, Carol, we had down near Boggy Creek on Government Springs, South Government Springs. We came in and we had approved, I believe, $400,000, and then we're looking at some grant money. I think another $300,000. I think it's supposed to be a total of $700,000 going from Boggy Creek up to 10th Street. How are we looking on that? Are we making any progress on that one?
I don't think that project, we talked about that project, but I don't think that project got into the budget. And I don't know that we made any progress on designing. I think when we were talking about that, we were looking at trying to connect 10th Street and the mountain bike
Yes.
trail.
Right.
exactly.
And we were
yeah.
looking at a grant, and I don't recall what the status is, but we'll get an answer for you about, I don't know if we put in for a grant for that or not.
I can confirm for you, Commissioner Norwood, but I believe it's still with whoever the grant was through. Like, we haven't heard whether we've gotten it or we haven't gotten it yet. It was is what I'm recalling on that one.
Okay.
Is that true?
Not too long ago, and it's still in pending state.
Okay.
Okay.
I didn't know
They're
you.
trying to decide.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Jason.
Awesome.
Appreciate it. Item 3.2, review a proposed ordinance amending the rules for city boards and commissions. And I think Carol's going to talk about this, but before you do, just kind of wanted to talk about this just a little bit. Since coming on as mayor in May, tried to make some of the different board meetings and just see what all's going on. And I had a lot of concern whether or not some of our boards were in compliance as far as open meeting laws. And as we discussed this, the closer we got, we found out that items to be on the agenda were coming in even the same day after it had been posted, and getting way out of compliance. And I don't think any of that was on purpose. I think it's just convoluted over time. So I thought it might be a good idea to come back and try to redirect these rules just a little bit so we don't get a call that we're not functioning correctly. We want all of our boards and our commissions to be productive. And that's what this is about. Had Carol put this together, and I think it's very, very simple. It's nothing that we don't have to do at this, on this commission. So that being said, that was the purpose of this. Overall, for every one of our boards and commissions, not any one of them. Okay. So with that said, Carol, if you want to make an address or answer questions or.
Well, it's pretty easy. I considered it a continuation of the best practices. You know, we have the little pamphlet for you all, but I tried to figure out what they needed, how it would help them. Mostly, a lot of our people have been on boards and commissions for a long time. So this is probably old hat for them. The police and fire civil service commissions actually do the hiring, firing, and disciplining of the of the unit members, the police officers and the firefighters. And every meeting, every board meeting of the city needs to follow the Open Meetings Act. And what is done will create open records that are open to the public. And it's good to not wait till the last minute to prepare something on the agenda. Most of the time there aren't any problems. And I feel kind of foolish, but I put it in here because the OMAG people said we should remind them that board members should review agendas prior to the meeting. I think everyone does. Board decisions need to be made at the meeting. Recently I had a board member ask, well, someone abstained, but it was counted as a no vote, and that's a state law. And obviously it is important to be careful about how you confer on matters of business when you're not in a public meeting. And you're not supposed to ask people how they're going to vote. You can ask one or two, depending on the size of the board, but you cannot pull a majority, and that includes through emails, talking in person, on the telephone. All of that creates a meeting that's not open. And then policies, they should be in clear language so that the public can understand them and the staff can implement them. And particularly if it's going to be a major change. Those few boards that have policy, that actually create policy, need to consider whether or not there's the resources, the money, the staff to implement it. But, like the park board. The park board's been around forever and they do a good job of that. Any questions? It just kind of sets out some ground rules and maybe some best practices. There's always going to be a last minute agenda item put on. Those things happen, but we never go past the, we post early and then we do a second posting. We don't put things on after, within the when we have less than 24 hours.
Carol, I do have a question on item 6. Can you give us a little bit better clarification on that? With board members shall abstain from voting on matters in which they have a personal interest?
Yeah. Okay. So if, okay, let's see. If one of your family members is very involved in a project, then it would probably be a good idea to just recuse and not vote on it. Even if it's if a family member is up for an award and you're one of the people that pick the award people, then it might be good to say, hey, this time, why don't I pass on that? Or if your child wants to do a mural and wants the city to contribute money, certainly show up and encourage your child, but don't vote on it. It's just, and at the bare minimum, explain what's going on. I don't let my husband get involved in any city business. But if he did, I would definitely tell you guys. But he knows off limits. So it's just common sense stuff. And usually we don't have any of those things happen. But, it's a little like coaching your own kids. You know, you have to take deep breaths and not be too hard or too easy on your kid. So all of this is just common sense stuff. But it is probably nice to have it in one place, and we'll bring it back. If you have any suggestions, let me know. And if it passes, then we'll send it off to all the boards and commissions and, you know, let them have a copy.
Carol, on chapter D, the policies number 2. So is this now requiring the various boards, if they want to change the language of something regarding that they have oversight, that it has to be approved by the city manager and the city attorney first before it can be implemented? I mean,
Well,
if it's
okay.
worked for so long?
If we're talking about implementation,
Yeah,
obviously, something is going to have to be implemented by, most of the time, it's going to require implementation by staff. And the staff takes direction from the fire chief, the police chief, or the city manager. So the implementation part does require buy-in by city employees.
okay.
But this is not written this is written as a best practice. And most of the time, the things that get put on the agenda they have been talking, you know, like on the park board employees and stuff have talked to the park board members, and this is usually taken care of because, you know, for instance, I guess she's not here anymore, but Angela is the staff liaison for the PACE committee, and so she talks to them. She talks to Morali and the city manager and stuff. So it all generally happens fairly well, but I added it because if we're going to have a ordinance, we should probably discuss.
Sure. I'm wondering, have there been times in the past where these boards have changed policies and then the city staff comes back and says this is too burdensome or perhaps illegal or out of budget?
Well, we have had, most of the boards do not have that much policy
To begin with.
But as we all know, the library board has been very busy with the policies, but they have talked with city staff significantly. I mean, there can be differences of opinion, but it doesn't go on the agenda unless, you know, it's been discussed, and everything's gone on the agenda. There have been, you know, frank conversations and some disagreements, but they have communicated, and Summer always makes sure that the city manager and myself always look at all the agendas.
Okay.
So there haven't been any, you know, we don't post agendas if they're late.
Okay. Final question is,
Yes.
on these boards, maybe not all the members, but are we at least requiring at least the chairman or chairwoman to have some sort of Robert's Rules orientation or class on something like that? Because if it is procedural issues, then I think that can be cleaned up without us having to make changes to the city charter. I mean, if they're doing something out of order, then perhaps it's something
City charter
just don't know.
changes take either a determination they're unconstitutional or a lawsuit or a election. This is, an ordinance is for you all to make the determination, and this is just, having it be an ordinance means that any of the board members could look up these rules online or in the big blue books. But no, I have not gone to every board and commission and discussed with them. But I would imagine that every board has, and the new board members have discussions with the staff liaison. Each one of these boards has someone that is a city employee that will assist them in developing what they want and how to get there.
Okay.
Not
And-
me, but
Yeah, Commissioner, also, we talked for a long time with OMAG on this to make sure that everything we were doing through all of our boards were going to be in that confine. And that question came up about training, because I definitely think we could use some training out there.
Sure.
And they said they don't normally do that, but they could probably put something together for us if we would bring those chair people in. But now, they can't come to Enid 14 times, you know. I mean, they're going to have to,
I understand. I think at least the chairman of each board should have to.
yeah.
And perhaps go through that, and perhaps that is
I
a
don't
once a
think
year, once every
additional
2 years.
education ever is
Right.
wasted.
Yeah.
So I think that's something we can probably look at doing, because I think sometimes folks get on boards or run for mayor and they're not even sure exactly how all that works. And so it helps to have understanding. It helps to know what that procedure is. But that way we don't have people taking a vote and then after it's all done, asking for their vote back.
Yeah.
You know, we're getting in some really muddy water there that could be detrimental for the community in a lot
I
of
understand.
ways. So that's the purpose of this.
we can put an item on to discuss that on the agendas for the boards, and Josh and I and the city manager and the assistant city manager can, and the fire chief and the police chief can cover all the boards and talk about it. We really have very good board members. They're pretty responsible, but, you know, sometimes in the heat of the meeting, you know, it can become difficult. But I'll get with Summer and we'll put together something and divvy up the different boards. And we'll try to do it, and if that doesn't cover it, then we could have the chairman in to talk with whoever we desire.
And one other thing, that whole having staff, mainly Carol, review those items that they want to put on the agenda, there's not a company out there that wouldn't have their legal counsel look at everything that was going to go into print. And that's all we're doing now.
Sure.
So,
And, you know, just to say, it's a good safeguard to have a representative from the council on the different commissions and the different boards. That's the reason why we have that. So that, you know, we can report back to each other what's going on and what took place in that meeting. So that helps protect us as well.
okay. Any questions or comments or additional comments? No? Well, that being said, we're going to start our regular meeting at 6:30, but I'm going to adjourn.